Srila Prabhupada avoided the large crowds before the deity, keeping to his schedule of rising early and translating the Bhagavatam. Speaking with Kaushalya and Srimati, Prabhupada praised them for having arranged the Jaipur Pandal program. You girls are carrying on Lord Chaitanya's movement so nicely, he said. Just see, even without husbands, you go on preaching. He said that is the Western woman. Or he said that the Western women were different from the Indian women who simply stayed at home. Then Prabhupada discovered that his two women disciples had not actually done a thorough job. Although the Pandal program was to begin in 2 days, no one had arranged for the large tent to be erected. Prabhupada said it was not a woman's nature to do such organizational work. The women became morose to hear him. When they showed him the flyer they had printed, advertising the festival, Prabhupada became angry. It is not standard, he said. It did not say International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but only A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and foreign disciples. What is this? Prabhupada shouted. What, Srila Prabhupada? Kaushalya asked. Foreign. Why do you say foreign? It must be American and European. That is what is attractive. That they are American and European. But you are just a woman. What can I expect? These two women began to cry and left the room. With Shyam Sundar's help, Kaushalya and Srimati had new corrected flyers printed and returned to tell Srila Prabhupada. But now his mood had changed completely. His anger was gone. He was soft. After all, these disciples had tried their best. In a disarming disclosure, he began to explain that to be a spiritual master was difficult. I chastise you, he said, because it is my duty. Disciple is related to discipline. So it is my duty to my disciples. Otherwise, I am not upset with anyone. I simply do this to discipline you because you are my disciple. He consoled them, saying they were sincere and lacked expertise because of poor upbringing. The devotees present felt Srila Prabhupada was wonderfully expressing to them a bit of what he, as a spiritual master, felt in training them. Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava कुंज बिहारी राजा राजा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय श्री श्री राधा गिरिधर भगवान, जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, श्री गुरु साई की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, जय गौर। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। दर्शप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति मे। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, entitled Residents of Jambudvip Offer Prayers, text 31. Yadrupametam nijamaya Artha Swarupam Bahuruparupitam Sankhyanayasya Yayatopalambhana Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesharupi Yadrupametan Jamaya Yadritam Artha Swarupam Bahuruparupitam Sankhyanayasya Yayatopalambhana Tasmai Namaste Vyapadesharupi Pametan Nijamaya Yadritam अतस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् ज्ञानयस्यास्त्य यतोत्पलं फला तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायैर्भूतम् अन्तःस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् सङ्ख्यानयस्यास्त्य यतोपलं नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायैर्भूतम् अतःस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् सङ्ख्यानयस्यास्त्य यतोपलं फला तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायैर्भूतम् अतःस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् सङ्ख्यानयस्यास्त्य यतोपलं फला तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायया कृतम् अर्थस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायया कृतम् अर्थस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् सङ्ख्यानयस्यास्त्य यतोपलं फला तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यद्रूपमेतं निजमायया कृतम् अर्थस्वरूपं बहुरूपरूपितम् यस्यास्त्य यतोपलं फला तस्मै नमस्ते व्यपदेशरूपे यत् of whom Rupam, the form, etat, this, Nija Mayaya Arpitam, manifested by your personal potency. Artha Swarupam, this entire visible cosmic manifestation. Bahurupa Rupitam, manifested in various forms. Sankhya, the measurement. Na, not. Yasya, of which. Asti, there is. Ayata, falsely, upalambhana, from perceiving, tasmay, unto him, the Supreme Lord, namaha, my respectful obeisances. Te, unto you, avyapadesha, cannot be ascertained by mental speculation. Rupine, whose real form. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanarinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hear the translation. My dear Lord, this visible cosmic manifestation is a demonstration of your own creative energy. Since the countless varieties of forms within this cosmic manifestation are simply a display of your external energy, this Virat Rupa, universal body, is not your real form. Except for a devotee in transcendental consciousness, no one can perceive your actual form. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Mayavadi philosophers think the universal form of the Lord to be real and his personal form illusory. We can understand their mistake by a simple example. A fire consists of three elements, heat and light, which are the energy of the fire, and the fire itself. Anyone can understand that the original fire is the reality, and the heat and light are simply the fire's energy. Heat and light are the formless energies of fire, and in that sense, they are unreal. Only the fire has form, and therefore it is the real form of heat and light. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. Thus, the personal conception of the Lord is like the expansion of heat and light from a fire. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord also says, Matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshavastita. The entire material creation is resting on Krishna's energy, either material, spiritual, or marginal. But because his form is absent from the expansion of his energy, he is not personally present. This inconceivable expansion of the Supreme Lord's energy is called Achintya Sakti. Therefore, no one can understand the real form of the Lord without becoming his devotee. Om Jnana Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Krishna Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Sashyati Devi Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Devim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Nirvatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. So we continue with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the chapter where the residents of Jambudvip offer prayers. So different residents of the different varshas. So you understand each varsha has got a particular exalted devotee that leads the residents of that varsha in worship of a particular form of the Lord. And then this particular varsha, this is the Hiranmaya varsha. And the particular devotee who's leading the residents there is Aryama. And they're worshipping Kurma. So you see in different, the Lord, he takes so many different forms to reciprocate with the devotees, their mood of worship. So in this particular Varsha, he takes the form of Kurmadev. In the previous verse, the residents are offering their obeisances. The Lord is Kurma and glorifying him. And this is a continuation of that prayer. So we see that the residents of this Varsha, they're saying that there are so many different forms, but they're also describing how that when they're talking about the describe the Virat Rupa form of the Lord, and it's described as it's not the real form. It's a material form. It's a display of the Lord's external energy. But at the same time, the real form is there. And the real form, there are many different, the Lord comes in many different incarnations. And these incarnations and the Lord himself can only be realized or perceived by the pure devotee of the Lord. So we can discuss a little bit about the Virat Rupa and then about the original form of the Lord. To understand the Virat Rupa is actually it's the Lord seen through the material universe. So we see all the different things in this material universe, cosmic manifestation, varieties of forms. We find that we see that as part of the Lord's body. So in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described in detail about each different limbs of the body. The veins are like the rivers, the hairs like the trees. The sun is like the eyes of the Virat Root. The moon is like the mind of the Virat Root. The breath is the wind. And the sky is the Virat Root, or navel. So like this, we can understand. So for materialistic people who are only interested in sense gratification, they cannot accept a personal form of the Lord. So to accept a personal form of the Lord, to accept the Lord means their sense gratification might be curtailed. That means they're accepting a higher authority and they might have to give up their sense. So they don't want to give up that sense gratification. So yet, the Lord so merciful, he agrees to be perceived in this form, in this Virat Root form. And it is, Prabhupada describes it as, this is meant for beginners or materially attached person. So someone who's a materialist person, we only believe in what we can perceive with our senses, with our imperfect senses. So whatever we see, we want to see something within our experience. So the Lord comes as the Virat Root so that you'll be able to, with the material sense perception, is materially attached people can have some idea or conception of the Lord in an impersonal form. And we understand from Bhagavatam that the Lord can be understood in three ways. Vadanti tattva vidastattva yadgyanamavya brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sattva. So there's the impersonal Brahman realization, the Paramatma realization, and Bhagavan realization. And here Prabhupada gives the example of the fire and heat and light. So heat and light are the sort of the energies of the fire, and they are formless, whereas the original form is the fire itself. So similarly, the Virat Roop is, in a sense, doesn't have it's not the original form. The original form is Krishna. The Virat Roop is that energy. So just similarly, like the fire is the original form, and from that you get the heat and light. So if you know there's heat and light, you know that there should be a fire in original form. So, and again, it's very difficult for common people to understand how God can create everything. And then, yeah, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he's aloof from everything. He creates everything. By him, everything emanates from him. But then he is not part of the creation. He's away from that. He's not affected by the modes of material nature. So that's Krishna's Achintya Shakti, inconceivable. And so that is a short description of the Virat Rupa. So it's not meant for devotees, it's meant for persons as a stepping stone to realizing Paramatma concept of God and then Bhagavan realization. So if the Virat Rupa is not the original form, then what is the original form? And devotees, we know that the original form is Krishna. There are many incarnations, but Krishna says Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, right? Krishna is the original person. And Srila Prabhupada in Brahma Samhita, when he describes, he says Shama Sundar, the Shama Sundar form of Krishna is his inconceivable, simultaneous, personal and impersonal self-contradictory form. The Shama Sundar, this beautiful darkish boy or blackish boy, that is the real form of Krishna. So it's described here, how can one see the real form of Krishna? Who can see the real form of Krishna? It is not, is it easy or difficult? It's almost impossible in a way, because Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita mudoyam abhijanati lokomam ajam avyayam. He says Krishna reserves the right to be seen. He covers the foolish, the ignorant with this Maya potency so that they cannot see Krishna. And again, Kunti Maharani, she describes in a famous verse, Maya Javanika Chandam Agyadokshajam Avyayam Nalaksha Semu Dadrisha Nato Natyadharo Yata. She says Krishna is beyond, he's Adokshaja, Adam Kritam Akshadam Gyana. He's above material sense perception. So with our material senses, material calculations, we cannot understand Krishna. And she says Krishna is like, when he appears in this world, he's like an actor. Sometimes we know someone, but when they're doing a drama and they're up on the stage and they're all dressed up, we can't recognize them. The acting is so good, the makeup is so good. So Krishna is like that. Even when he comes, we cannot understand him because he's like an expert actor. And why? Because he covers himself, or he covers us with the deluding energy. Why? So then how to see Krishna? Krishna says, I don't reveal myself to anyone. And with our imperfect senses, we can't see Krishna. So then Who can see Krishna? How to see Krishna? Again, our Acharya, the original preacher in of our Sampradaya, Lord Brahma, he says in Brahma Samhita, against a famous verse, Prema Jana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So only one whose eyes are tinted with the salve of pure devotion, they can see Krishna as he is. And they see Krishna in their hearts, not just with their eyes. And again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains this, Ananya Chetat Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityasha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. One who's constantly thinking of Krishna, constantly performing devotional service. Then to that devotee, Krishna becomes very easily visible. So you can see in the lives of pure devotees how Krishna appears, how they're able to see Krishna. There's a pastime that was recollected by Srila Prabhupada's first disciple in Jhansi, Acharya Prabhakara Prabhu. So Acharya Prabhakara, he was Prabhupada's first disciple. So on a Janmashtami in 1954, Acharya Prabhu had gone to Delhi and he came back on the night of Janmashtami. And 1 o'clock, he heard Prabhupada doing kirtan and playing the mridanga ecstatically. And he went down to see what was happening and he saw Srila Prabhupada. He was just swirling around the temple and he had a garland of Kadamba flowers around his neck. And Acharya Prabhu mentioned that one, that wasn't the season for Kadamba flowers in Jhansi. And even if you did get Kadamba flowers, they were very small. He says they were the size of usually tennis balls, no, golf balls. But the garland that Srila Prabhupada was wearing was made of Kadamba flowers at the size of golf balls, huge Kadamba flowers. So he wanted to ask Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, where did you get this garland from? You can't buy this at any market. But Srila Prabhupada wouldn't answer him. He was just dancing and playing mridanga and doing kirtan. And then he went back to take rest. Later in the morning, he asked the Prabhupada, Prabhupada, where did you get the garland? He said when he went into the room, the whole atmosphere was surcharged. There was a very nice fragrance. It was almost as if he was in the spiritual world. So he asked Prabhupada, where did you get this garland? How come you are feeling so blissful? And then Srila Prabhupada explained, that night I was chanting in front of Krishna, and I was feeling so much love for Krishna. And then Krishna suddenly appeared, and he gave me this garland. And I bowed to touch Krishna's feet, but Krishna disappeared. And then in great ecstasy and crying, I started chanting, and that's when he came in and saw Srila Prabhupada. So pure devotees, that was just one example. Pure devotees see Krishna all the time, because they're not seeing Krishna with their eyes, they're seeing Krishna. So how about us? How are we going to see Krishna? We're just practicing to become pure devotees. So should we endeavor to see Krishna? We come to the temple, we see the deity. Are we really seeing Krishna? There's this famous quote, Srila Prabhupada quotes his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. There's this famous verse where he says, don't try to see God. Act in such a way that God will see you. As we understand, we have contaminated senses, with our contaminated vision. anointed with bhakti, they're anointed with so many other things. So we can't see Krishna in that way. If we did see, yeah. So the discussion was about who is the real seer and who is to be seen. In the material world, we think we are the seer. This is my eyes. Everything is for my sense gratification. So I'm going to see things for my pleasure, to give my eyes pleasure. Whereas the opposite of that is Krishna is the original seer, and we are to be seen. So when we come in front of the Lord, we offer obeisances to the Lord. We offer different prayers. In one sense, we're not seeing Krishna. We've come in front for Krishna to glance his merciful glance upon us. But why would Krishna want to see us? Why would Krishna want to even glance at us? Are we so beautiful? Krishna has to see us. Are we so special? No reason why Krishna is all attractive. His Atmaram is self-satisfied. So what attracts Krishna? What will attract Krishna so that we can draw Krishna's attention? Prabhupada, one quote, he says, somehow or other, if you can draw Krishna's attention, then your life will be successful. So your life will be perfect. So the way to attract Krishna is by serving Krishna as ordered by the spiritual master. So we understand the pure devotees are very dear to Krishna. Described, Krishna says to Durvasa Muni, he says, Aham Bhakta Paradino, Yasvantantra Ivaduja, Sadhubid Grasta Hridayo Bhakti Bhakta Janate. Pure devotees, they're always in my heart. They're very dear to me. And what to speak about the pure devotees? The devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. So the way to attract Krishna is because Krishna is attracted to his pure devotees. So if we become servants of the pure devotees, then we have a chance of being seen, or by a chance of receiving that merciful glance of Krishna. That is our eternal position, Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalayo Dasan. And Mukunda Mala Stotra, Kulashekar Arva speaks a similar verse like this, that his only goal in life, says the perfection of my life is not to see Krishna, that's not the perfection. The perfection of my life, he says, is to consider, if you consider me the servant of the servant of the servant of this 7 times, the servant of your servant. That is the perfection of my life, not please reveal yourself to me. It's just please consider me the servant. So the only way to attract Krishna is to become a servant of the pure devotee of the Lord and to serve, to perform devotional service under the guidance and the instructions of the pure devotee. Once, I could just share a personal realization or an event that happened that sort of drove this point into my dull head. So this incident happened in Bhubaneswar. There's a nice temple that was established by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj in Bhubaneswar. So a number of years ago, we were there with my spiritual master, His Holiness Subhag Swami Maharaj. And he said, have you been to Jagannath Puri? I said, yes, Maharaj, we've been there. He said, have the children, so at that time, His son and daughter were with us. They were quite young at that time. And I told him, no, Guru they haven't been to Jagannath Puri. So then he said, okay, I'll arrange, we'll all go to Jagannath Puri. So he said, we'll go in 2 days' time. So everyone was really excited and we're going to go to Jagannath Puri. We hadn't been in a while, and it was going to be the children's first time to Jagannath Puri. So that was 2 days later. The next day, for evening walk, Maharaj suggested we go to a temple called Lingaraj Temple, the temple of Lord Shiva. And in front of the temple, there's, oh, you're from Orissa? You've been to those places? The Lingaraj Temple, in front of Lingaraj Temple, there is another temple called Ananta Vasudev Temple. And there's a pond in front of that temple. So it's described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did this exact, he went there, he took bath in the pond, he went to Ananta Vasudev Temple, he went to Lingaraj Temple before heading to Jagannath Puri. So all the devotees were like, oh, this is, Guru Maharaj is sort of showing us that, or, just following in the footsteps of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, and everyone is excited. And the night after that walk, we went back to the temple. I think it was in the temple hall in Krishna Balaram temple. Maharaj called me and he said, look, I've got some work to do. Said, I'm not going to Jagannath Puri tomorrow. And of course we were a bit disappointed. And then he said, so that was the main point. He said, serving Srila Prabhupada is my Jagannath darshan. And then he said, if you want to go, I can still arrange for you. If you want to go, you can go. So then we said, no, Maharaj is not going. So the point was, serving the spiritual master's instruction is as good. That's the real darshan of the Lord. Because that's when the Lord will cast his merciful glance. Otherwise, there's what's so special about us that the Lord will want to see us. And so real service, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says again, this real service means what the Guru asks you to do. That is real service. Not something we imagine, something we speculate, or we come up on our own and this person said that person, maybe I should do this thing. So it may be a very simple instruction, but as long as that's the instruction of the spiritual master and you endeavor to follow that till your last breath, that is what will attract Krishna. That's what attracts the merciful glance of Krishna. And that's described by Prahlad Maharaj, described by Jadabharat. Recently, we were also discussing Jadabharat's pastime. The point was Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, taking the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees of the Lord, which is their instruction. And if we take those instructions, then we can attract the mercy of the Lord. If the Lord's pleased, then Guru is pleased. Yasya Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada, Yasya Prasada. And how can you tell if you have received the merciful glance of Krishna? We come here and has Krishna seen me? If Krishna has seen us, then there should be some symptoms. We should notice ourselves that yes, I've received the merciful glance of the Lord. So in Chaitanya Chandramrita, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he describes this, it's a famous verse. Kaivalyam narakayate tridasa pure akasha pushpayate Durdantendriya kala sarpapadani prokhatam strayate Vishwam purna sukhayate vidimahendradischakitayate Yadkarunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam gauramevastuma Yet karunya kataksha vaibhavam. That's the merciful glance of the Lord. If one has received that, then what happens? Kaivalyam narakayati. He considers liberation to be like hell. Elevation to the heavenly planets. He considered the heavenly planets like little flowers just floating in the sky. He doesn't give them much importance. And to that person, the senses are like venomous serpents. But to a person who received the mercy of the Lord, the senses become like serpents whose fangs have been pulled out. We have the senses, but they don't keep us entangled, because our senses are used in satisfying the senses of Krishna. And Vishram Purna Sukhayate, we find blissful everywhere. Anywhere we go in this world, we find that we are blissful. And we consider the position of Lord Brahma, Indra, to be insignificant. We don't desire any of those things. So those are some symptoms. So the first symptoms will be how much we are developing, or how much sense control we're getting, how much attraction we have for Krishna Katha, Krishna's names. So Krishna consciousness is also, we have to be very reflective. We need to see if the scientific process, so we want to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. Everything has symptoms. We have to examine ourselves whether we are developing these symptoms, then we can tell. So, yeah, again, so all this begins, this whole process begins, as we understand, from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The beginning is Ado, Guru Pada Ashya, taking shelter of the bona fide spiritual master. And the problem is these imperfect senses. So we understand that with imperfect senses, we cannot understand Krishna. Atashi Krishna Namadi, Namavid Grayam Indriya. So Sevan Mukhi Jivada. So by serving, starting with using our tongue and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, being engaged by the spiritual master, he gives us instructions and guides us so that we can purify these senses. And he gives us the self-knowledge. Oh my Jnana Anjana, he gives us that. He opens our eyes with his torch of knowledge. And then with these purified senses, slowly we can start attracting Krishna. This is, and it goes back to, there's nothing that we haven't heard of. It's going back to basics. It's about waking up early, chanting minimum 16 rounds, eating prasadam, reading scriptures, associating with devotees. So that's, yeah, so that's the thing. And we can ask ourselves how we're chanting. Are we chanting mechanically? Are we chanting 16 rounds just to get through the 16 rounds? The quality of chanting improving, the quality of association improving. Are we getting more eager to hear Krishna Katha, read the scriptures, associate with devotees, engage in different services? So this is about us trying to attract the mercy of Krishna, attract Krishna's merciful glance. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, they go one step further. They say that they don't even want to see Krishna. Because that's, to us, that's the highest thing, seeing Krishna, receiving Krishna's merciful glance, that's the highest bliss. But we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Goswamis, they're teaching us that they don't even want to see Krishna. Because there are two types of mood. One is Sambhoga, which is meeting with Krishna. The other mode is Vipralamba, in separation from Krishna. So we can see from our material examples, when we're with someone, we experience some bliss being with that person. When the person's not around, you have some separation. So the intensity of the mood is that greater when you're with the person or when you're away from the person. Generally away. I've had some experience in the last couple of months. So naturally, so when you're with that person, you can you can become a bit familiar, get a bit bored. But when the person's not around, constantly you're thinking about that person. Oh, if that person were here, they would have said this, they would have liked that, they would do this. So in separation, that person is more present than when the person is actually physically present. That's even from a material perspective. So from the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, that's the mood of worship that they were engaged in, which is sort of the highest mode of worship. We can see how in the pastime of like Haridas Thakur, he appeared in a Muslim family, so he was not allowed to enter into Jagannath Puri. But his prayer was not to have darshan of the Lord. His prayer was only prayers, how please allow me to chant offenses. So in just chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so it says, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi. So from just Krishna's name, everything else emanates. Krishna's form, Krishna's path. Krishna's name is not different from Krishna. Haridas Thakur, though he's chanting, he's in one sense, he's not asking to see Krishna because Krishna is already there in the holy name. The Goswamis, we see, they were traveling around Vrindavan, excavating places of Krishna's pastimes, staying under a different tree every night, wearing a loincloth, eating very little, sleeping very little. But they were never saying, we have seen Krishna. They were always in separation from Krishna. They were always yearning for Krishna. Srinivas Acharya, he sung this beautiful song called the Goswami Ashtakam. And there he captures the mood of the Goswami. They are traveling to different parts of Vrindavan and they're saying, he describes, He Radhe Vraja Devi Ke Chalalite, He Nanda Suno Kuta, Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patane, Anindi Vane Kuta, Koshanta Viti Sarvato Vrajapure, Ede Mahavivano, Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugau, Shri Jiva Gopalakau. They are searching, Hey Radhe, Srimati Radharani, where are you? Lalita Devi, where are you? Son of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna, where are you? Are you on the banks of Govardhan? Are you under the trees and on the banks of Yamuna? Are you under the trees on the banks of Yamuna? Are you on the foothills of Govardhan? They're always searching. They never say, we've seen Krishna. And Krishna reciprocates with them. They don't want to see Krishna, but Krishna and Srimati Radharani, they come in disguise to see their devotee. There's some pastimes where Rupa Goswami, he was wanting to make sweet rice for Sanatana Goswami. He was associating with devotees. He wanted to offer prasadam to devotees, but he had nothing. So then this girl came, and Srimati Radharani herself came and brought the ingredient to make the sweet rice. And he didn't recognize. And Sanatana Goswami, when he ate the preparation, he asked, when he described, Rupa Goswami described, and he realized, oh, you're so fortunate. Srimati Radharani herself came. And Sanatana Goswami, Krishna came in the guise as a small cowherd boy to give him the Govardhan Shila in his old age, because he used to keep doing Govardhan Parikrama. And as he got older, the small boy came and gave him the Govardhan Shila. And then he realized that was actually Krishna himself. And Raghunath Das Goswami, when he was doing bhajan, and he was scorching heat, and Srimati Radharani herself had come and she was holding her the end of her sari to prevent the sun from shining on Raghunath Das Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami saw this and he got so angry. He said, what are you doing? You're taking service from Srimati Radharani. So we are meant to be servants. We don't take service from the Lord. Yeah, so the mood of separation, the Lord himself comes to give them darshan, but he doesn't come because knowing their mood, he comes without in a disguise. And so these are a bit above my pay scale, so to speak. But the thing is, all this comes from starting. The starting is following the four regulative principles, serving the spiritual master, and performing pure devotional service under the guidance of the pure devotees. So we see, just in conclusion, Krishna is so merciful. He decides, he reciprocates. Ye yatamam pratatyanti tam stadeva prajameham. So according to the nature of the person, the materialist who can't come out, who can't accept a personal form of the feature, he reciprocates as the Virat Roop. And then for the yogi, he reciprocates as Paramatma in the heart and he guides him. And for the devotees, he reveals his own personal form as Shyamsundar, or at least through the pure devotees. So we simply follow these basic principles, take the words, instructions of our spiritual masters, our life and soul, then we don't need to desire to see Krishna or desire to have Krishna's glance upon us. We just focus on pleasing the spiritual master. And then automatically these things happen by Krishna's mercy, not by our demand. There's that last time where someone asked Prabhupada, or Prabhupada says, Krishna is not your father's servant. They say, where's Krishna? I want to see Krishna and Krishna appear. We know that if we perform our activities as devotional service with patience, that day will definitely come. Hare Krishna. Thank you for attentively listening. With any comments, realizations, corrections, any questions I might attempt. Sorry? Yeah, because the mood of separation is much more higher, it's much more intense. Like from material perspective, when you're in separation from someone, you're constantly thinking of someone, constantly. Everything you see is you relate it back to that person. But if that person is there, then you can take the person for granted. After a while, you might not have that same intense feeling that you had when it was in separation. Whereas the pure devotees, when they separate from Krishna, they're always yearning for Krishna. So they're seeing Krishna more, they're experiencing Krishna more in separation. So it's not that not that they don't want to see Krishna, but this is even more of an emotion compared to seeing Krishna. So seeing Krishna is seeing Krishna, but here you're seeing Krishna plus all the additional emotions. At least I have no no understanding about this. Vipralambha Bhava, it's all theoretical, but yeah. Yes. Yeah, so it might be my mistake. They're not seeing, but they don't want to unite with Krishna. They're not Sambhoga, they always want Vipraha. Not so much seeing, but they don't want to unite with Krishna. They always want to be in separation. That's much more intense emotion. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. In our society, generally, we doubt the like how can we lose that doubt? It's true. I mean, one thing is ideal, and then the other thing is practical. But from an ideal perspective, the relationship between a guru and disciple is not just based directly on physical interaction. So even if it's just one interaction once a year or once in 2 years, but in that interaction, the spiritual master can give everything, and he can speak through so many ways. He can speak through other god brothers. He can see the gurus, god brothers like god uncles. He can speak through his other disciples. He could speak through his lectures. So we have questions and we're hearing his lecture and suddenly that answer could, is that what you're saying? Then you might not get personal interaction, so you feel you might not be special. But yeah, I guess that's out of your he's empowered by Krishna. So if he wants to, he can. It's not always a direct interaction. Krishna can reveal in the heart. So the same thing spiritual master could reveal that. Could come in dreams and give instructions. I don't. One angle, the lacking is not in the spiritual master, but is lacking in our faith and our surrender. We have faith and surrender. The spiritual master has promised to Krishna, "I'm going to bring this jiva back." So if he's going to try, Prabhupada said he'll come back until the jiva goes back. So he's taken that promise. So it's, on one sense, I think it's the disciples' shortcoming if we don't have enough surrender. And so if we're crying for that, the spiritual master can give. I think in our scriptures we've seen how Krishna comes, the spiritual master comes in dreams. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and it takes sannyas, or Prabhupada as well, he got a dream. So, instruction from his god brothers. So that was one point. The other thing was, so the other thing is the eagerness. So there's nothing to stop a disciple from trying to get that instruction from the spiritual master. If you have sincere desire, greed, that opportunity could arise. It could be from Krishna can make that materialize, and it might just be 1 minute or 2 minutes of an interaction to say, Maharaj, how can I serve you? Or what should I do? How can I serve? And it might be just a very simple instruction. It might just be chant 16 rounds. That's the perfection of your life. That's it. That's the instruction you got, and you just. So it might not necessarily be build a temple or whatever big sort of instruction. It can be any, in material sense, maybe not a great, just look after clean the temple or something. But that's an instruction. So if we have that eagerness, And I mean, my personal experience as well, sometimes we go for like parikramas with like 2,000 devotees, 3,000 devotees. You don't think you'll have any opportunity to meet the spiritual master or even receive a glance from him. If you that intense desire, then suddenly that can happen. So something, if you, just my experience. In the past, we had some big parikramas in Vrindavan and all that, and there's no way of getting close to the well, spiritual master. There's always so many devotees around, and many times it happened that we just came out and we were like, "Oh, what are we doing here? We haven't had any association yet." And so we just go out of the room and we're just walking somewhere, and then we see Maharaj going for a parikrama by himself with two, three devotees somewhere. Because he's also trying to avoid this big crowd. He wants to do his own budget. And then suddenly the opportunity arises. He's alone, and we get the 5 minutes or 10 minutes of interaction. I don't think that answered your question, but these are just some things that came to mind. What are your thoughts on that? It is. On a practical level, it might be. I mean, one's ideal, then the other one's practical, institutional consideration. I don't have an answer to that. But thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments? Yes, Bill. Yes. So the context was there was some service to be done. So instead of not doing that service to go and see Jagannath, that is, so you're saying I'm going to get that same darshan if I do this particular service. So definitely the Dham is important. And but the point of going to the Dham again is to we're not going to see Krishna with our eyes. We're going there to see Krishna through the ears and to associate with the pure devotees of the Lord. Again, it's not on our own strength that we're going to the Dham to wait for Krishna to reveal himself, or the Dham to reveal himself. We're going to the Dham to associate with the devotees, pure devotees, and through them, so we're going to hear about Krishna, we're going to get some instructions, and again, Krishna will be pleased, and then maybe we'll have a chance to have Krishna's merciful glance. I think Rupa Goswami, he describes, I'll just paraphrase it, you might have heard of that particular warning he gives. He says, if you have any love for your family life, or if you have any love for your family, for your friends, your materialistic life, don't go to Vrindavan. So if you go to Vrindavan, it's fine, but don't go to Keshigat. And if you go to Keshigat, that's fine, but if you see this boy who's standing, dark boy, bent in three places, crooked in three places in a Trivanga form, don't see that boy. And if you see that boy, don't see his smiling face. Because if you see that smiling face, in other words, the translation was, your material life is ruined. that you'll have no more affection for family and materialistic things. So if we have really gone to the Dhamma, if we've really gone to Keshiga, we have seen Krishna, then we'll have no more interest in this material world. But we keep going there, hoping one day we will. But yeah, so going to the Dham was mainly to, the Dham itself is potent, but the potency of the Dham is that there's so many pure devotees that want to see Krishna through our ears. I hope that. Then. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shivancha Kalpatrubhisha Kripa Sindhivya Chittakanam Bhagavatam Vaishnava